Hi everyone, welcome back to Java 1 for All. In this video, we are going to talk about transactions. Transactions in the database is basically do everything or just don't do anything at all. For example, imagine that you have a warehouse and then you are selling products, and let's say that you are selling TVs. And you have the product in your warehouse that's like one TV, and you are selling to one specific customer. So when you are doing this process, you have several steps in the database that needs to happen. So for example, if you sell successfully, you usually have to reserve the product, otherwise other people will just jump in. But let's say that you reserve the product and then you remove from the database saying, hey, now I don't have any because it's one customer trying to buy and the customer tries to pay. The payment goes into the provider that's handling the kind of the credit card transaction, and let's say that it fails. So what you have to do is you have to update the customer status, and then you have to also update your let's say the warehouse. You have to put the product back again into your database. I'm putting this in very simple words. These days with distributed services, it's even more difficult to handle all of that. But the fact is, you basically have to do all the steps, or you should not do any steps at all. So it's the same when you are trying to save, for example, parents and dependents. Usually you want to save everybody, and if something happens, you just don't save anybody at all. And this is what the transactions is about. You just do everything, or you roll back to the state that it was before. Now let's see how we can do this. Let's use, for example, a batch save. Let's say that we send like a list of producers and we want to save all the producers. But if something happens with one of the producers, we would like to roll back. Let's go back to producer repository, not the row set. We are going to use regular prepare statement for that, regular connection. And I'm going to copy the update prepare statement and the prepare statement update. Just copy these two guys, go all the way here because we are going to use the save. Now I'm going to copy this SQL, the save SQL, and I'm going to the prepare statement update, and I'm going to replace here. Since we're going to use prepare statement, just replace this with wildcard, the question mark. Now, since we are doing batch insert, we are going to have a list of producers. And here things will be a little bit different. Why is that? Because for each one of the producers, we will have to create a prepare statement. Otherwise, we will have problems. So basically, this will have to be inside a for. So for producer P producers, and then we will have to create each one of the prepare statements. But if you are creating the prepare statement here and we have to execute, we cannot use this anymore. So let's first rename here to avoid problems in the future. So prepare statement save transaction, and here the name of this method will be save transaction, and we are going to ask for a list of producers. Okay, so we are creating a connection, and here we are not going to get the prepare statement anymore. And why is that? Because when we are setting up the connection, we will have to do something like this. Every time you send something to the database, by default, this driver, it auto commits. The connection, you should set the auto commit to false. Why is that? Because I don't want the state of the database to change because unless I tell them so. Now, if you have this try here, there is no way for you to handle this connection later. So what we have to do here is, like, since we are going to create the prepare statement here for each one of them, and I cannot return a list of prepare statement, and I need to close this prepare statement as well, I will have this inside a try with resources. So the try with resources is inside the for, because for each one of the producers, I'm going to have this create prepare statement. And now I don't have this one anymore. I just need the name, and I will get p.getName, and I want to execute. So basically p dot not p, ps dot execute, and then I'm going to say I'm not going to return anything because I'm going to execute here, and here you can remove this line, you can remove this line, and you can leave it this one, but you can just rename here to producers, and then you remove this prepare statement from this connection. So basically I'm saying create a connection, tell the database that I'm not going to commit, I don't want the database to commit anything until I tell them so, and here I'm going to call this prepare statement save transaction, and I'm going to pass the connection with auto commit false, and then producers. So basically now we are inserting anime store. Let's add a catch here because it's a bad practice to have on the try. SQL exception e.print stack trace. Okay, so now that we have everything, we just have to pass this to producer service. So copy the entire method signature, go back to producer service, all the way to the save down here. You call producer repository, and let's create connection factory test 03. Okay, now that we have the connection factory test 03, go all the way to test 01, copy the producer here because we are going to create 3 producers. So basically Control D, we have producer 1, we have producer 2, and we have producer 3. Now we just have to give some different names for them. So for example, this one could be toy animation, this one could be white fox, and this one studio Ghibli. And now we call producer servers. After 273 videos, I forgot the most basic thing we have been doing for a long time. Just select Ctrl Shift up, Ctrl Alt L, and then producer servers dot save transaction list of producer 1, producer 2, producer 3. Okay, so now that we have all of this, let's press Ctrl Shift F10. Actually, it's a good idea to start the database first. Make sure that I have docker -compose up running. Fail because of the database. Let me come here. I will close this one because this was for the previous video in Portuguese. And then we have these 4. And now I will press again Shift F10. As you can see, no exceptions at all. But if we go back and we try to refresh, clicking on this, I forgot the name, lightning, and we have only 4, even though we have no exceptions. And why is that? If you go back to producer repository, you are saying, here, create a connection, tell the database that even though I send the SQLs there, they should not commit before I tell them so. So basically, everything you do here in this prepare statement save transaction is not going to be persisted because I didn't send the trigger. To send a trigger, say commit everything, com.commit. Now, if I press Shift F10, you will notice that we will have all of them in the database. Okay, so this is the good scenario. Now let's delete, apply, because imagine now that, for example, we have white fox, right? Let's say that white fox is going to give us a problem. So if p.getName dot equals white fox, let me double check how I wrote white fox. Yeah, just copy. So if the name is white fox, throw new SQL exception can't save white fox. By the way, since we are only using SQL exception, I'm going to talk about something that might happen later. So basically, I'm saying if the name is equals to white fox, just give me an error. But remember, we are inside a for loop. This means that the white fox will not be saved, will not be executed, but then the next one, that's Studio Ghibli, it will. So Shift F10. As you can see, we have the exception. You can even add here, for example, log.info saving, and then p.getName. Let's go back to our database, and as you can see, we have both of them, Toei Animation and Studio Ghibli. Now, this is a problem because I'm just deleting them. Basically, we have a transaction, so it means I don't want to save all of them or just partially the values if I have some problem. But the thing is, we are telling here in this method to just execute, and we are telling outside this method to commit. So basically, like the first one, it's going to pass, it's going to execute this. This is false, so basically it will execute and then it will continue. The next one, we are going to get an exception, it's going to go all the way to the catch, and then we are going to the third one. This will be executed, this will be executed, and this will be executed. It means we sent to the database two commands, the first and the third one. And once this method is finished, we are just saying whatever is in the database right now, just commit. Now, what we have to do is kind of, okay, we have a problem, then just roll back everything. And to roll back, you just have to call, for example, connection dot rollback, and basically it will roll back to the state. But the problem is, if you put the rollback inside this catch, it's not going to roll back all the changes because it will keep going on. So basically, we need a flag, and you cannot set the rollback here because you have no access to the connection after you reach the catch, and the connection is already closed. So you wouldn't change a lot of code to handle that. You could technically have a nested try, for example, inside this. Yeah, but that would be ugly. What we can do is something like this. We can create a flag, for example, should rollback, that is false. And then here we tell, hey, if you have any problem, should rollback should be true. The thing is, we are only having this catch for SQL exceptions. If you have a null pointer, that would not work here. So technically, this would be better if we handle, for example, exception or runtime exception. Runtime exception is not possible because SQL exception is not a runtime exception. Yeah, so I think we can have exception here because otherwise this rollback would never be true in cases that we have different exceptions. So after the for, if should rollback, we just can even add a warning here, log.warning. Transaction is going to be rolled back. Failed to insert producers, and then you can pass here the producers, and then you tell, hey, connection, just roll back. Now let's try this out. Let me see. Update. Okay, we don't have anything. Shift F10. So we're kind of saving toy animation, Studio Ghibli, and then transaction is going to be rolled back, fail to insert producers. So basically we fail to insert all of them because the transaction is going to be rolled back and we have no data at all. So this is it about transactions. Fortunately for us, we have several frameworks that can handle that in a way better and cleaner way than what we are doing right now. But the idea is that you understand how the JDBC works behind the scenes. Because this is one of the most low-level ways possible that you have to work. If you go to any framework, they are going to do this for you, but it's important for you to understand how they do it behind the scenes. Okay, so I think that's everything. I hope you enjoyed. Let's continue in the next video. Bye-bye.